Hello!
Hi!
Welcome.
We're here!
It's Sidewalk Slam.
Yay! We did it.
We did it,
Amidst-
It's been a little while.
Yeah, amidst scheduling troubles.
Oh my goodness me.
And my notes got stolen.
Yeah.
My backpack got
What
stolen.
the hell? Someone stole Adam's bag from the gym.
Yeah.
They got your ID and your wrestling notes.
And a couple comics. Like the Matt Fraction Hawkeye.
What?
And Rat Queens Volume 1.
Oh, man.
So, those are gone forever.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I could get another copy.
Those are replaceable, but your wrestling notes.
Yeah, the notes are... So now I've got like an old book. I have Money in the Bank notes and the Raws afterwards, but Graham is going to be carrying me.
Today, however, we're probably going to just be doing like 4 Raws, probably? Probably just the Raws leading up to Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I mean, there's only like 2 solid threads leading into this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Everything else was kind of...
all over the place.
there.
Yeah.
It was there, but there was nothing concrete. And by 2 threads, I mean John Cena, AJ Styles, and the actual Money in the Bank match. Oh, I guess Roman and Rollins.
Yeah.
But even that was weird. But I think we should address the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Which is
Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Just briefly, the reason that, because in the last episode we were like, we're going to record this week, and then we're going to record next week, and then we'll be caught up, and it'll be great.
Yeah.
And what happened was that the episode, that episode got blocked worldwide by the WWE because of, I mean, they didn't do it manually. They don't.
Yeah, they
don't know that we exist. It was on YouTube. They have it set that pay-per-views just get blocked, and the content ID, even though we like reducing the size and stuff, that now just they use heat maps. It sees the footage, which is why if you watch that episode that isn't blocked worldwide now, I had to do most of it with stills and then a couple very short little video clips.
Yeah. That must have been a nightmare to re-edit.
It was just it was just so annoying to do it again.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what these are going to be looking like going forward, because we could just have a solid 2-hour shot of you and I sitting here, and we're not that bad. But
yeah.
I think it improves it greatly to give you viewers at home the context of seeing what we're talking about.
Does that mean that pay-per-views are going to be stills?
Yeah, definitely pay-per-views, and I might fiddle with doing it for Raw as well. I don't know, but definitely pay-per-views kind of have to be, basically.
Yeah.
So dealing with that, which took like a week of like disputing on YouTube and then figuring out how I could best get around it, and even talking to like a YouTube rep network, and they were like, "Well, it is their stuff, so there's not a lot that we can do to fight it." And it's like, right, because no one cares about fair use. That was just a very demoralizing week, and so we never got together to record, and then it's just been scheduling hell since
Pretty
then.
much, yeah. It's like, you're busy, I'm busy.
Yeah. And with the new streaming schedule, this room is busy every Friday evening for AFK, and it's busy at alternate Mondays for Tinker Tailor, and often if I'm in Crossing the Streams, and that's Wednesdays that don't work.
Yeah, but then Thursdays you're doing Magic, and then Saturday, every other Saturday, it's Loading Ready Live.
This Thursday is the last one for CSL, so Thursday evenings are more available now. Okay. So anyway, the point is,
we're doing our best.
You don't need to know the intricacies of our scheduling.
Yeah,
but the point is, we're trying.
Let's go back. Roman Reigns, has been nailed with his first violation of the WWE wellness policy, which we've talked about before. Which when we talked about it before on an earlier episode, it was Adam Rose and Connor from The Ascension. Who Connor? I don't think he's Connor even back yet.
I don't think
it was only 30 days, but
Adam Rose has since asked for his release.
There was a big schmozzle afterwards. With that guy.
There was some other stuff to do with Adam Rose as well that we don't need to get into.
Yeah,
but so the social outcasts are down to 3 now.
But so your top guy has just been
the face of the company.
Yeah. Or some people would say, I guess, the next face of the company.
Yeah.
The person that they think going forward is the guy. And he has been, we don't even know what he got busted for.
No.
So it could have been anything. It could have been some random drug that he got prescribed by his doctor that was on the no-go list.
Yep.
And he wasn't paying attention, or because I'm assuming that they have lists that they're given.
Yep.
And it's like, this is what you can do. This is what you can take. This is what you can't take.
Yeah. It could be it could be steroids. It could be pot.
Yeah.
Like, there's a massive range of things it could be.
Yeah.
All we know is that he did something that tripped the WWE wellness policy, and on Twitter he said, "I made a mistake."
Yeah.
So he's not.
That's it. Yeah.
It's not that he didn't do it. It's just he did. We don't know what it is, but something happened. And on your first violation, that's a 30-day suspension.
Yeah.
Your second is a 60-day suspension, and your third is you are fired.
Yes. I think that a lot of people were freaking out too much about this first. I think it's the second violation is the one that's the big one.
Yeah, but this is still like when someone's being pushed,
Yeah.
no hint of irony, as the guy,
Yeah.
and is your current champion.
Yeah.
For that to happen is like there have been stories about like someone was about to get a huge push and then this happened, like William Regal was about to get a huge push at one point and then got suspended just before, like they were building him up and then it was like nothing. This is he is champion.
Yeah.
He is, like he may not be the brand ambassador, but he's the current face of the company because he's the champion.
Yeah.
And it's like, oops, we can't not make this public. That's part of the whole thing is that it's, they announce it publicly on their website.
Yeah.
And some people are like, oh, maybe this is a work. No, they don't do this as a work.
No.
Also, that would be a terrible work.
Yeah. It's like,
be like, look, our great like guy that was meeting with, Make-A-Wish kids a couple weeks ago, who's our plucky champion, was taking some sort of drug he shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Is like, that's not a work. That's not a good storyline.
Yeah, and I don't think we won't get to it tonight. I think, but apparently they knew about it before Money in the Bank happened, like the day before or something.
That makes a lot of sense.
And it definitely changed plans. I would like to. This is the thing I love is like I want to know what the original plans were.
Yeah.
Now.
And this is why, and we give the WWE writers a lot of crap, which I think is fair.
Yeah.
But this is why it is so difficult to plan long-term storylines in the world of wrestling, because you don't know when someone's going to screw up and get suspended.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look what happened to Rob Van Dam.
Yeah.
After One Night Stand 2005.
That was when he was.
That's when he was one of the only people to cash in ahead of time.
Yeah.
Rob Van Dam is a wrestler who was around mid-2000s, super popular.
Oh, yeah.
Very athletic, very fun to watch wrestle. And he cashed in his Money in the Bank ahead of time against John Cena at the ECW One Night Stand 2005 pay-per-view, which is very good.
A great pay-per-view.
Very good. You should go watch it if you haven't, and you have the network. And Rob Van Dam wins, but afterwards he gets busted with like a bunch of marijuana.
Yeah. And he was ECW champion and
he was both.
And WWE champion at the time?
He was both. And he was like,
that's the biggest push.
This was it. Yeah, this was and this is a guy that a lot of people didn't think would ever get there. Like he was a fan favorite.
Oh yeah.
But
when you look at the people that they make champion, he shouldn't have been
It's like a Daniel Bryan situation.
Yeah.
It's like you look at him and people love him and then they just refuse to pull the trigger on it for whatever reason. So, yeah, I mean, there is a history of guys who finally get their big chance and then they kind of, they're human, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I do kind of feel bad for Roman because, like, he's human, right?
Yeah.
And he's just getting all the Roman haters are coming out of the woodwork.
I guess it depends. I guess it depends on what he was doing.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if he if he was doing steroids, I feel a little less bad.
Yeah.
If he was doing pot, it's like that sucks.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't do pot.
You idiot.
You stupid idiot.
If he was strung out on smack, I'd be like, I don't feel as bad about the suspension. Maybe you should get help.
I was definitely one of those people cracking jokes about it when it happened. But
because the thing about the wellness policy is like, people are always quick to, because of the whole like steroid scandal in the 80s and 90s, people are always quick to be like, oh, steroids. But the thing is, it's like...
That was my first thought, because actually, it's funny, when I was watching the pay-per-view, when I was watching Money in the Bank, I was like, man, Roman looks jacked.
But the thing is, there's other supplements. There's like testosterone and HGH, I think, which are not covered by the wellness policy.
Really?
You can take testosterone or HGH and you won't get suspended, but you can't take anabolic steroids. So it's like that. If it was steroids, that would be supremely stupid because there's no reason for it.
Exactly. Have they released a list of like what is and isn't?
No. There is. Interestingly, someone pointed out in the fine print that the people who get tested, this is part of their because they have to be a good corporation and be promoting healthy, whatever, even though it's all scripted, is that it's people who are regular competitors. So people like Brock,
aren't tested.
Triple H, would theoretically not have to submit to the typical wellness policy. Vince, it's only the regular competitors that actually get tested. Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, I found that very interesting.
All right,
you have no idea what could be happening.
Yeah, I mean,
it probably just means
God. You know how much I would give just to be a fly on the wall in WWE at all times?
Oh my God!
You know how awesome it would be?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to see how it works, what happens.
Is
it just a bunch of people drinking paint thinner and writing wrestling scripts that the large majority of the wrestling community seems to think? You know what I mean? Like, are they just
There was a video I saw today of a guy who was a writer there in like the 2000s or something when Vince was doing his gross old man
with
role.
Trish.
With with Candice Michelle.
Oh, I missed that.
So he had the power of God. And they did a
Is
scene.
This the wrestling match with God they had?
No, this was he was chosen by God or something, and he had healing powers. And Candace comes into his dressing room and says that she has a chest cold, so he rubs her boobs, and she's like, "Oh, it's so much better now." And so that they were going to basically do another one of those bits the next week of him being continually more workplace inappropriate with one of the divas. This is the guy who dictates the storyline, by the way.
This is the man who owns the billion-dollar company.
He's like, I was a new writer. I was there. They're talking about, they did the boob touching last week. They want to do something else this week. And she's like, well, I need a new, a new disease or something. And Vince is like, what's the new disease going to be? Anybody? And the room is just silent. And he's like, this either means I'm in the door or I'm going to get fired. And he just says, labiagitis. And there's another moment of silence, and Vince is like, this guy gets it. And they ran with it.
I was wondering if you could help me with my labiagitis.
Candice Michelle's like, yeah, my chest cold got way better after last week. Maybe this week you can help me with my labiagitis.
Jeez.
And Vince is like, all right. And then Triple H busts in and breaks it up, and nothing happens. But it's just like, oh my God.
There's some things I'm glad I missed.
Yeah. Attitude era. Anyway, we're going to go back to a month ago. We're going to go back to May 23rd, Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, we're going way back.
Way back. This is the night after
Payback.
Yeah. When Seth Rollins reappeared and pedigreed Reigns after the title match.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, yay.
Yay, Rollins.
And Rollins comes out. JBL mentions that Roman is still the guy. Massive welcome back chant.
Yeah.
Which is pretty huge for, someone who was a top heel before he left. And we talked about this before, that people, Triple H was a huge, massive heel and tore his quad, and they did all these, fighting through the surgeries kind of stuff. And then when he came back, he was like a massive pop, total face, everyone loved him. And same thing with Seth Rollins. They even did a ESPN.
I watched there's a WWE 24.
That was the one, WWE 24 on his recovery.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they apparently still want him to be a heel.
Yeah. Which, you know what? While watching it, I was like, I'm okay with this.
I'm okay with it, and he did a great job flipping the crowd on him.
Yeah.
But, you didn't need to do that.
Yeah. It does. I do understand people's problems where they're like, well, why would you give us this documentary about Seth Rollins overcoming the odds and coming back way earlier than expected and being back, and then just, that's a reason to cheer for him, right? And then he goes ahead. But I mean, I think
so he's really working the crowd here too. He's just oh, hey, thanks for cheering for me. You never cared before.
Yeah. All those times I carried the company. He was like,
carried the company on my back.
He mentions carrying the company on his back, which gets some cheers. And then he kind of flips it around again.
He does get a thank you chant for beating up Roman Reigns.
Yeah, it's true.
He's like, I gave Roman a pedigree. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Seth. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I have this in my notes. Kathleen notes that his hair is so wet, it is dripping all over his jacket.
Yeah.
Obviously, WWE is into this look, but there are products you can buy that replicate that look without ruining your clothes. As a follow-up, she mentions, maybe Seth and Roman just have really frizzy hair, for which there are also products that exist.
Yeah.
If anyone from the WWE is watching, please contact my wife.
It's just like Kane, when Kane had the long hair, and then when his hair unwetted, like dried, unwetted. Yeah. But it would just like, you would get a big Kane afro, is what they called it. Yeah.
My favorite line, just because it is a little ham-handed of Seth, is like, you sent me all this fan mail while I was recovering. I put the fan mail in a garbage can and I lit it on fire.
I miss Seth so much. I did not realize how much I missed him until seeing him back on Raw every week.
He's great.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Roman comes out. JBL again mentions that he is the guy.
Yeah.
They have a stare down.
Yep.
Shane comes out and makes a match for the two of them for Money in the Bank. They're going to have a title match in 4 weeks at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view for the title. So there's your next 4 weeks of storyline with these two.
Yeah, which is weird because, I mean, not weird, but the weird thing is how they handled it. Whereas I think it was next week they didn't even interact with each other whatsoever, I think. They just had a couple of like promo packages for each person.
Over the next several weeks, they don't interact that much. They interact a bit.
There's that
mostly
great...
It was, what?
Sorry, there is that great Ambrose Asylum segment.
Yeah. But mostly we just see the video after video after video. Then they're fine video packages. We've said before that the E puts together really good videos. But these sort of interminable video packages of like, this is what the Shield was, and this is their history together, and now this is Roman Reigns today, and then a different one that's like, and this is Seth Rollins now, and this is what he's been through, and it's just sort of like,
Which, again, really,
which you need if you haven't been watching for the past year, but like,
but the signal they were getting across with Rollins too was like, oh, this is all the stuff he's been through. So, and it's like, well, now I want to cheer for him because he's been through all this stuff. And then he kind of comes out, and I realized that in a kayfabe sense, it's Rollins' character being like, look, I don't need you to, I don't do that, you know?
Yeah.
I don't need these people. But from a writing's perspective, it's way too all over the place. In a company that, like, it's storyline-wise, they control everything, right? Like, everything that they release. And so, going forward with this storyline, especially leading up into Money in the Bank, where the actual match itself was a very heel Roman wrestling style compared to Seth playing the plucky underdog. But anyway.
Tonight's episode of Raw features a litany of qualifying matches for the Money in the Bank match.
Yes.
So the Money in the Bank ladder match, as we are told repeatedly throughout these coming weeks, was invented by Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
Which is true.
Yeah.
And it's...
I actually I want to go back and watch where he came up with it. You know what I mean? Like... I didn't.
It wasn't an on-camera thing.
Oh, it wasn't?
It was no.
Like he just made it up back. Like we're talking.
He literally came up with the match and pitched it to Vince, and it was like great. And then they did it. For some reason,
I was thinking it was a storyline thing.
No.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah.
I mean, it might have been, but I know that he like legitimately pitched it backstage as a thing. And it's 6 usually. I think they've done more people at Mania once or twice, but it's typically these days it's a 6-man.
Because originally. Match. It was Mania only.
Yeah.
That match, there was no Money in the Bank pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It happened at WrestleMania, and I think, what year was the first one? Do you know?
I cannot remember.
Well, when I was at WrestleMania 25,
nice.
And that was the year CM Punk won it, one of the years.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool for me,
That's awesome.
Like to be there to see him win it.
And so it's, like I said, it's a ladder match, which means you win by climbing up the ladder in the middle of the ring and pulling down a briefcase that, in storyline, contains a contract that can be cashed in any time against the champion.
Yeah.
And so that typically means, like, a couple people have been like, I'm going to use this contract and challenge you on this date. But typically what happens is that you'll find an opportunity where the champion has just won or lost a match or is being beaten down or whatever, and then you run in and you give it to the ref and you say, I'm cashing in, and you pin them real quick, and then you get the victory.
I think the only 2 people to cash in ahead of time were John Cena and Rob Van Dam.
Yeah. Backstage, Sheamus rips on Sami Zayn for being Canadian.
Yeah.
Renee Young tries to interrupt, presumably to be like, I'm also Canadian, but she just gets cut off, and because they have the first qualifying match for Money in the
Yeah.
Bank. Sami Zayn versus Sheamus.
And I think this is the start of Sheamus's anti-New Era crusade.
Well, so
Does he mention it in this, talking to Sammy?
no, so
No?
this. Well, he's sort of, I guess, a little bit. He's
Yeah.
sort of like, you New Era, blah, 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 you
Yeah.
know, whatever, you plucky little bastards or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, he's very down on the concept of this New Era thing they're
Yeah.
pushing. So then, after Zayn wins this match rather quickly,
Yeah.
Sheamus is left in the ring, visibly infuriated.
Yeah.
And then we cut backstage to Apollo Crews, who still can't stop smiling
Yeah.
when he's talking about the brutality of the Asylum match from the night before. This is like, the Asylum match was just so brutal. Big smiles.
I really want to like him, but I am not liking him. You know what I mean?
Well,
I dislike the smile and everything. So-
Luckily, he is immediately assaulted by an angry Sheamus,
Yes.
who is really pissy about the New Era.
Yeah.
So now he's just attacking Apollo Crews just because he's...
like from a kayfabe perspective, I'm just picturing Sheamus just walking backstage, and the first person he sees is like, I'm going to beat the piss out of the first new guy I
think
see.
he's just, I imagine he's just walking around backstage angry after that match,
Yeah.
and then just hears Apollo Crews say New Era and loses it.
Yeah.
So the New Day is out in the ring, celebrating both their title reign and Raw's 1200th
Oh
episode.
yeah.
Big E threatens the crowd with a sheet cake. The Social Outcasts attack them from behind with no more Adam Rose at this point. And there is a match, and the New Day wins, and Heath Slater gets caked.
Yes. When was the last time we saw the Social Outcast? I can't even remember.
It's been a couple weeks. It's been since Adam Rose's suspension.
Yeah, we got to see a bow train, which are always fun.
A bow train.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
When they do the bow train outside. Yeah.
Actually, no, because Adam Rose got suspended, and then they did the bit with Apollo Crews,
yeah.
and then they had been off for about 3 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Miz cuts another stellar promo on how he won last night's Intercontinental Championship match, and it's him versus Cesaro for another Money in the Bank qualifying spot.
Yeah. And Miz brings up that he has won it before.
Yeah, that's true.
And he cashed it on John Cena? Did he
I
cash
think
it on
so.
John Cena?
That's. I mean, in that era, it's a safe bet that Cena was champion.
Yeah. Miz actually headlined WrestleMania 22.
Yeah, he did. I liked it.
Yeah.
Man, someone linked the replay of him getting speared over the barricade by Cena,
Yeah.
and his head just pops off the concrete. Jeez. It's like he says he doesn't remember that match.
Really?
Yeah, and you can see why.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, you shouldn't have been conscious.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. This is a whirlwind of a match. Really good.
Yeah.
Cesaro catches a top rope maneuver with an uppercut into the 1, 2, 3.
God, Cesaro is just a freak.
Yeah. Really good.
Unbelievable athleticism. Like, just, God, man. I hope that they're taking him. It seems like they're taking him seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to see at least, like, because Miz actually, after this match, Miz has been gone.
Yeah.
Miz was off TV filming the Marine 5. So, so the Intercontinental title has been out of play, and I'm assuming that there's going to be defended at Battleground.
Yeah.
So
presumably.
And if at the very latest, Miz will lose that title at SummerSlam, I think.
So far, Sami Zayn and Cesaro are in the Money in the Bank match. Backstage, Seth is talking crap and goes to hug Steph, because of course it was Steph and Triple H and Seth. They were the authority, and Seth was their golden boy. And so he comes up, he's like, Steph, how's it going? And goes to hug him, and she's like, hey there.
Yeah.
She's very guarded about it.
Loved this segment.
Yeah, this was really interesting, showing the sort of the further establishing Steph's current character compared to her
how good
character. Her previous character got speared out of her at Mania.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it has been this whole, like, she's like, look, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I stepped into an area where I shouldn't have been, and now I'm trying to kind of show people that I'm not all bad. And distancing herself from, especially like the old stuff, like Seth Rollins, made a lot of sense from a character perspective. And even over the next few weeks, doesn't it feel like they're doing the we just want to run a show shtick?
Yeah.
Because we'll get into it, but there's definite, like, I was like, oh my God, they are actually just trying to run a show. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apollo Crews has a match against a taped up Chris Jericho, recovering from the Asylum match, with shots of Sheamus watching angrily from backstage. And you assume that Sheamus is going to interrupt the match to stop the New Era from winning.
Yeah.
Which he doesn't, but Jericho wins anyway.
Yeah, Jericho just wins.
So Jericho's in the Money in the Bank match.
Yeah.
That was a Money in the Bank qualifier. Sorry.
Yeah,
Forgot to mention.
Got ahead of ourselves here. Yeah, so the inventor gets to partake.
There's another insane Bob Backlund promo where he asks Darren Young to name all the presidents.
Yeah, these are so hit and miss, I find. Or not, less hit.
Also, is making Darren Young great again at any point going to involve Darren Young
wrestling
or getting airtime other than these weird Bob Backlund promos?
Yeah, I don't know. But you're weird. Like, it's just like, I understand what they're trying to do, I guess, but you can actually see Backlund reading the teleprompter.
He's an old man. Yeah.
You're ruining my immersion, Backlund.
Baron Corbin is telling JoJo that he low-blowed Ziggler in the match at Payback because it was a no DQ match and he could. Can't fault that logic.
Why are we saying Payback when it should be Extreme Rules?
I'm sorry, Extreme Rules.
I was like, why would he he low-blowed him at Extreme Rules. Yeah, we really screwed that up. I'm sure there'll be
said Payback like 3 times already. Oh, well.
Yeah. Extreme
Hopefully.
Rules. We fixed it before. I'm sure there'll be a comment.
Oh, the summer will be. Don't worry about it.
Did you know that playing hard in the paint refers to...
Ziggler comes in and rips on Corbin because these guys are still feuding.
This feud will never end.
I did like this, though, that Ziggler is sort of like ripping on Corbin for, being like him. He's not a good wrestler. He's not being like a righteous kind of wrestler or whatever.
Yeah.
And I actually really like this line from Corbin because he's talking about how Ziggler, he was a kid watching WrestleMania and he wanted to grow up and be the champion or whatever.
Yeah.
And Barry Corbin's like, I never wanted to be a wrestler. I just beat people up.
Yeah.
And if you're good at something, you don't do it for free.
It's awesome.
That's Baron Corbin's
That was
character.
his shtick in NXT as well.
He's like, no, I'm just really good at beating the crap out of people, so I may as well get paid for it.
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
Good shit, Corbin.
Cool.
Yeah. The Corbin he was growing on me in NXT. He grew on me even more over these last few weeks.
Which is weird because I don't give a crap about this storyline.
Yeah, I didn't either, but I love Corbin.
Yeah.
So, isn't this where he challenges him to the
a technical wrestling match on the following week?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and he because Dolph Ziggler used to be like an All-American, actual amateur wrestler.
Yeah. Big Cass comes out to a huge pop.
Yeah.
And beckons Enzo for a huger pop.
Yeah.
Enzo's
the
back.
The pops these guys get are ridiculous.
It's so good. You can't teach that. And they have a fight with the Dudleys, and they win.
They beat the Dudleys, they do like their usual thing, their new age outlaws stick.
Yeah.
And new age outlaws stick.
Yeah.
And
new era outlaws.
Yeah. And they wrestle the Dudleys again. I really wish I knew what they were doing with the Dudleys.
Having them around.
I am assuming that maybe they'll split them up with the brand split.
Ooh, that could be interesting.
Because I know a lot of people know, and I've watched some of it, not all of it, but Bubba Ray, called Bully Ray in TNA, had an absolute stormer of a heel run as their world champion, which was very good. Made me like a lot more... it opened my eyes to like a singles Bubba Ray.
Yeah.
Devon, I don't know, I can't even remember what they really did with them.
He was around.
Yeah, he was around, but yeah.
Yeah, doesn't quite have the same solo power as
it doesn't seem like it.
Bubba Ray does. Rick, Charlotte, and Dana, Ric Flair and Charlotte and Dana Brooke come out to give the state of the title for the Women's Championship.
Yeah.
Rick is saying a bunch of things that make absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what this was, but I remember being baffled that there were words coming out of his tumbling out of his mouth that didn't string together into coherent sentences.
Yeah.
You had your hand in the candy jar. Yeah, you were on fire. No matter where we hid the candy jar, she found it. Her hand was in it. And everything she touched in her entire life, she just made happen. She's that fabulous.
This is very, very weird. So how do you take Charlotte, who's this massive heel, and make her even more of a heel? Because the thing is, people are booing her, and they're booing Dana, and they're booing Rick.
Yeah.
But people still kind of love Rick.
Yeah, because he's Rick.
He's Ric Flair.
Yeah.
So how do you make Charlotte get booed even more? Have her turn on Rick.
Yeah, which we knew was coming.
Yeah, and so she talks about how her past with Rick.
Yeah.
And how he wasn't there for her as a child, like gets really personal, and then is like, I don't need you anymore, get out, and kicks him out. And he looks blank.
Yeah.
He looks like he's had his soul ripped out.
Yeah. Doesn't she say, I wish you were dead?
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
and just kicks him out, and he just sort of like zombies backstage. He just doesn't know what to make of it.
Yeah. Actually, there was one line in that promo that I loved was Charlotte saying she was tired of being Rick's daughter.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
she wanted to be Charlotte's dad.
Yeah, it makes sense from the storyline of her finally deciding that she doesn't need Rick anymore. But it felt like it was really personal.
Yeah.
So like, and I'm sure that it wasn't actually as personal as it seemed, but there was
always a little bit of a hint, you know what I mean? You know, the age-old saying is that a heel will at least believe a portion of everything they say. So I'm sure that maybe some of that definitely came from a very real place.
Yeah.
I actually really like the segment.
Yeah.
I had some people say that they didn't like it, like that I talked to.
When we see Rick backstage later, he's just sort of like, again, he's got his bag and he's just sort of like 1,000-yard stare walking out of the place. He gets a hug from Arn Anderson.
Yeah.
One of the other Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
And then Renee offers him a chance to respond, and he just doesn't say anything and leaves, and then the camera slowly zooms in on an exit sign.
It's like, I wanted them to start playing the Incredible Hulk music. This is
That's what it felt like, yeah.
I really wanted to see that. That'd be great. But I guess it would kind of ruin the mood.
There's another Money in the Bank qualifying match between Ziggler and Ambrose, which Ambrose wins.
Yes.
And then there's another random Shining Stars promo, except this time, because of course they shot everything in Puerto Rico when they were doing the first batch of promos, so now they're just on a green screen in front of a picture of Puerto Rico. And I don't understand what they're trying to do, because they've only had the one match, and they're still not saying anything different.
And they still haven't wrestled. They didn't wrestle any of these Raws.
Yeah.
And the two since Money in the Bank.
Have they been? I don't watch Main Event or Superstars.
No, I don't know.
Have they been on those shows?
Maybe. I assume they have.
Because again, they were doing all these promos on Raw, saying nothing different from their other promos.
Yeah.
And we still don't know anything more about them, and they still haven't wrestled. So it's like, what? Okay. And the final match of the night is AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens for the Money in the Bank qualifying match.
Which is an absolute stormer of a match.
Real good.
Holy.
Before the match, AJ basically breaks up with
the club.
Yeah. He says to Gallows and Anderson that he's like, look, like we're cool, but I don't need you, and I don't think that we need to continue this working relationship.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to come out here and help me every time.
Yeah.
I don't want to rely on you. We're done.
Yeah.
This episode's just been a whirlwind of emotions.
Yeah, it's been all over the place.
Yeah. And so they don't take it well.
No.
They're pretty pissed off at AJ.
Yeah.
But they're
because if you look
like,
at it from
right.
like a kayfabe, because they're friends, right? And they've come to this company being like, oh, our buddy works there. We got a foot in the door, you know? And it's like, all right, the band's back together. And then it's like, what do you mean you don't want to play music with us anymore?
Yeah. And they're like, we helped you every step of the way.
Yeah.
Like their take on it is basically like, okay, AJ, but don't come crying to us when shit hits the fan and we're not there to save your ass.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, I think, again, in storyline, I don't think that's putting forward the narrative that AJ is weak and that he needs the club to save him, but that's what the club believes.
Yeah.
I think
the club believes that AJ has a penchant for running his mouth. Or getting in over his head.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh shit, you know, like I've really screwed up here. So yeah, I really like that segment. The match was fantastic. Kevin Owens is probably the best wrestler, the best entertainer on the roster. Maybe not the best. That's up for debate. But anyway, from like a pure sports entertainment, just so good. Like screaming, I'm the headlock master from that Raw like a few weeks ago when he was wrestling Cesaro.
And he ends up winning this match.
Yeah.
So we have 4.
I actually thought AJ was going to qualify. I was surprised.
I was surprised that he didn't.
Yeah.
But then they had plans the following week.
Yes,
so far, Sami Zayn, Cesaro, Jericho.
Yeah, Dean Ambrose.
Ambrose and Owens.
Yes.
Are in the match.
So it's 5, right?
So 5 people in the match.
Yeah, so there's 1 slot left.
Yeah. And that's the show.
Yeah. It's funny because I remember Tuesday after this Raw, I have some people that I work with that watch wrestling, and they were convinced that it was going to be Finn Balor. Was going to be number 6.
Interesting.
They were convinced. They were like, why didn't they do the 6th guy? And I was like, it's going to be Finn Balor. I was like, no, they're not, because sorry, if you don't know, Finn Balor is wrestling Shinsuke Nakamura at the next TakeOver special.
Yeah.
So that'll be great as well. So I was
there
like,
you go.
no, man. Yeah.
Raw for May 30th.
Yeah.
It's Memorial Day.
Yeah.
So it opens with a moment of silence for Memorial Day.
Yeah.
For the bell. And then an incredibly awkward montage of superstars dubbing along to a speech of Ronald Reagan.
Oh, yeah.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
It shows like a clip
you
of
think
Ronald
that's
Reagan
because,
talking,
like-
and then it crossfades to one of the wrestlers saying like
The same line. Like
saying
continue.
the end of the
Yeah.
end of the sentence over and over, and it's really weird.
Do you think we think it's weird because we're Canadian?
I guess.
Yeah, because it's like, I was like, all right, this is great. USA.
It's so very like.
Ham-fisted?
It's so very ham-fisted American nationalist platitudes of like, it's Memorial Day, here's Ronald Reagan, let's all stand in front of the flag. And it's like, I know, like, I'm not trying to shit on the idea of Memorial Day,
Yeah.
right? But just the way that WWE always handles their Go America, rah, rah, rah stuff is
Yeah.
always so predictable and ham-fisted that it's just like, yep, okay.
Look,
okay.
America, we love you.
Yeah, I got no problem.
Yeah.
I got no problem.
no problems.
I have no problem with Ronald Reagan.
We just have to look at it
personally.
as Canadians.
I've never met the guy.
We
but-
have a hard time, like, it's just, when we look at stuff like this, we're like, it's so weird.
Yeah.
Because we don't, I guess we kind of do. When it comes to hockey, we do. That's about it.
We don't have that kind of level. Of,
Yeah.
The same sort of thing. You're
Yeah.
not going to get like. You're not going to get people think.
When the
talking along to,
Winter
like,
Olympics roll around, this whole country shuts down, so.
Yeah, we're not going to get like a Pierre Trudeau analog to this Reagan speech, right?
Yeah, Don Cherry.
Don Cherry, Canada's racist uncle. So Shane comes out, and then Steph, before Shane can talk, cuts him off for the Welcome to Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
And the New Day comes out and sort of interrupts them. And this is when they're addressing the brand split thing on camera, because we talked about that last episode.
Yeah.
And they're not sure about this SmackDown
Because that was
announcement.
the day they announced it, wasn't it?
I think so.
Or a little bit before? I'm trying to remember
I think
when
it was
they
around
announced
there,
it.
yeah. It was like
Yeah.
earlier that day. And so, brief aside, Xavier Woods says to Kofi, he's like, well, you've been here for like a decade. And Kofi's like, no, man, like 9 years. And Woods is like, you're my favorite in middle school. Anyway, they confront them about where New Day will go for the brand extension.
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's like, they're like, we want to know where we're going to go for the brand extension. And they're like, well, we haven't decided yet. And then they sort of faff around for a little bit. And then they're like, no, but seriously, where is New Day going to go? Oh, wait a minute. You haven't decided yet, have you? And it's like, yeah, they said that. They said that like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
What? Anyway, the vaudevillains mercifully interrupted dance-off.
Oh, yeah, that was awkward. that was a New Day segment. Well, I will wholeheartedly say fell flat.
Yeah.
It was just not very good.
They get Shane to start dancing, and
Shane starts twerking.
Steph's like, no, I'm not doing it. And the vaudevillains come out, and
they do. It was actually, there's one funny part where they're like, Kofi compliments Shane's shoes. And then Steph's like, yeah, I got some nice shoes too. And like, yeah,
Steph.
shoes are okay.
Yeah.
Like, Steph is trying so hard
to be cool,
man.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's
great.
such a great change of pace from, authority Stephanie that we've been living with for the last 6 months or whatever. I think it's great. Some people might not like it, but
so the vaudevillains come in and attack New Day.
Yeah.
It cuts to break, and then when we come back, it's actually just a match between the New Day and the vaudevillains.
Yeah.
At some point, as New Day gets the upper hand, Gallows and Anderson run in and attack New Day, and both the vaudevillains attack Big E, and it just sort of
big kerfuffle.
Big kerfuffle. Backstage, Renee asks Gallows and Anderson, what in the hell just happened? She's like, why did you do this, guys? And they said they want to prove that they don't need AJ, which is a little weird way of doing that, but sure. They're just like, we're important too.
Yeah.
Rawr.
Rawr. We're making a mistake. Well, I mean, like, you could explain any action like that as just, they're the champs. We want to make them mad so they'll make a match with us. You know what I mean? Like, that would be my goal. Just try to make every champion mad at me. And then that way they'll be like, I want him at Battleground. It's like, all right, yes. You idiot. You fell right into my plan.
So they show a replay of Apollo Crews being attacked by Sheamus while being interviewed. And then we cut to Apollo Crews doing push-ups. And Big Show comes in.
Yeah.
It's the first time Big Show's been seen since Mania.
Oh, yeah.
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 And he still hasn't been on camera apart from this, I don't think.
I don't think so. No, I'm trying to remember.
He's taking some time off, and he's just like, hey, man, I think the new era is cool. Don't let it get to you. But you're all right.
Yeah, thanks, Big Show.
Yeah. Really, Big Show? Do you think so? There's an ad for the Warcraft movie with Demon Kane in it.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
That caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I was like, why is there a Warcraft ad in the middle of this episode?
Do you think there's a cross-section of Warcraft and wrestling fans? Like, is there some Venn diagram where it's like...
I mean... Look at the people we know.
Fuck, I walked right into that one, didn't I?
Roughly Adam. Yeah.
Fuck!
Golden Truth are on commentary for a match between the Usos and Breezango.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I'm loving Breezango.
Truth sits down at the commentary desk and says hi to JBL, Michael Cole, and Coach.
Oh, yeah! Forgot about that.
And they're like, that's Byron Saxton. They're like, oh, what? I thought you were Coach.
Yeah.
It's like, Coach hasn't worked here in like 10 years.
Yeah.
The Usos win, and I cannot remember a single thing from the match. It was really hard to follow with Golden Truth on commentary.
Yeah, man, they were so good. Which Raw is it where they show Breeze shaving Fandango's back?
It's not this one.
It's not this one,
No.
but there is a Raw where he does it, and goddamn, Fandango uses this word that cracked me up.
They have a series of
Ginormous or huge normous or something like that. He says something like that.
They have a series of like kind of like quasi homoerotic vignettes.
They're great.
With Tyler Breeze and Fandango like helping each other manscape.
Yeah.
And like tanning and
they're so and those
shaving.
two are legitimately funny, which I was surprised by.
So
like
was I.
Fandango is actually funny. Like he was so good in every one of these things. I was like, I want to see more of Fandango.
I'm glad he's still around.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the gimmick he was given.
Ugh.
Like, you're a dancer.
And he got that over.
Yeah.
It's amazing. After the match, Golden Truth beat up Breezango.
Yeah.
Because they have a match in a week or two or something. Just they don't like him. They don't like him. Why not?
They don't like him.
Reigns comes out to a mixed reaction,
Yeah.
as it is called. Also, I wrote down here. This isn't all caps. Wrong, no emphasis. Wrong, dumb catchphrase. Because he says, this is Reigns and he's like ripping on Rollins.
Yeah.
Rollins isn't there yet, but he's ripping on Rollins. And he says, how can you call yourself the man when you're running from the guy?
Jeez.
And it's like, no. You do, no. First of all, comparing the man and the guy, neither of those is better than the other. But you can't put, in a comparison, you have to put emphasis on the part that's different. So he says, how do you call yourself the man when you're running from the guy? It's like, no, the guy. You have to emphasize the word guy. Is English your first language?
You're putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
He really is.
Oh, man, Roman.
He calls out Seth.
Yeah.
Seth comes out, almost gets to the ring,
This is weird.
and then picks up a mic instead and plays the crowd a little bit and goes to talk and then starts to leave and then chucks the mic away
Yeah.
and walks to the ring as Michael Cole says, no more talking. And it's like he hasn't talked yet, so it's not really no more. It's just a continuation of no talking. Then he goes and he's about to get in the ring, and then he doesn't, and then he's going to leave, and then he starts to come back, and then he leaves.
Yeah. I hated this
And that was
segment.
it.
That was dumb. I was like, what is this even telling us?
I don't know.
It isn't doing anything.
It was a very weird segment that I did not like.
Sometimes I think I'm too much of a stickler for, like, things should always be moving forward when they don't.
No, I think that's relevant.
Yeah,
They've got
you know what I
3
mean?
hours of Monday Night Raw every week.
But this is a segment where nothing advanced.
No,
nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Yeah. It's like, this is the best you could come up with?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I think of. I'm like, really?
Like, initially, I thought they were doing a thing. You remember when Jericho came back some years ago? You may not have been watching. And he returned, huge pop. Yay, Jericho's back. And he picked up a mic. And then he didn't say anything.
Oh, I didn't see that.
This was amazing.
Oh, really?
So this was a return for Jericho.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, Jericho. Break the walls down. And he's there and he's like jumping around. And he's like, yeah. And big smiles for the crowd. And he picks up a mic and he's about to talk and the crowd keeps cheering. So he like lets the crowd cheer more and he hypes them up. And then he's about to talk. And then he hypes up the crowd some more.
Yeah.
And he's about to talk. And then he waits. And then he's like, yeah, let's hype up the crowd some more. And then he's about to talk. And then he's about to talk. And he puts the mic down. And he just stares at the crowd. And then he just throws the mic away in disgust and leaves.
That's awesome.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was like,
I'm gonna have to go check that out.
How do you turn a return that everyone's going to be excited about into establishing that you're an asshole, literally without saying anything?
Yeah.
In 5-10 minutes.
Man.
It was a great bit.
And even this whole lead up to Money in the Bank, like Chris Jericho was one of the best parts.
He's doing so much great work these days.
He's getting, the crowd is chanting "stupid idiot."
Yeah.
The crowd chants "stupid idiot" at certain parts during Raw when he's wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, they're chanting it at Chris Jericho, but it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. He's got that phrase over.
Yeah.
And I love the drink it in, man.
Drink it in.
Yeah, I think it's
Drinking
awesome.
a tall, cool glass of Jericho.
Yeah. The gift of Jericho. Awesome.
Lana welcomes your Umerican hero, Rusev, who's the U.S. champion still, and it's Rusev versus Ryder, and it's nice to see Ryder again.
Yeah.
Ryder ends up tapping out to the Accolade, which I guess is just always bent over backwards now.
He doesn't do it to Titus, obviously,
right.
because
Just
Titus
physically it won't work. But
Yeah.
I guess if he can, he'll
do it.
the Callisto
It does
thing.
make Rusev look a lot scarier.
Yeah. Rusev starts incoherently ripping on America on Memorial Day of all things.
Boo this man.
Boo this man. And he's interrupted by Titus O'Neil.
Yeah, that's what I was like. What? Titus?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good on him.
He says, you're a Bulgarian blowhard, so let's fight.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
You're a blowhard, let's fight. And then just starts wailing on Rusev.
Yeah. Good for Titus.
All right, cool. The Shining Stars.
It's something different.
Cutting another promo on green screen for some reason.
Sick one. Yeah.
There's a promo package on Charlotte.
Yeah.
And then a video of earlier today with Steph confronting Charlotte. And Steph just rips her a second asshole.
Awesome. Yeah.
Steph is like, I am embarrassed that you are our champion. I can't believe that you're the face of the women's division. If it were up to me, you'd be out of here for the callous disrespect that you showed Ric Flair. Just complete dressing down from Steph. It was unexpected, but it was a great segment.
It was awesome. And you know what? I think they did that segment. And I know a lot of people have problems with how Steph addresses talent on screen. Mm-hmm. And this might be one of those situations, but I took it as Steph being a catalyst for her to get more heat. Because she's reminding everyone of what she did, and she's reminding everyone of what basically a piece of shit she is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I thought the segment was
also
great.
works for her own character, too, because you're like, oh, okay.
Because Steph still got some bite. She's not all what happened with that Ambrose segment, where Ambrose was
needling her, and then she's like, well, your show's canceled, bye.
Yeah. That old Steph is still there, but she's trying very hard.
Yeah. Enzo and Cass make a bunch of cheese references against the Dudleys. I don't think having Big Cass list a series of things is their strongest mic work.
Yeah.
Especially not cheese.
Big Cass, maybe I'm in the minority, but he sounds like very styrofoamy on the mic sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's just like this thing, because they're making, I can't remember if they're in Wisconsin or what.
I think it was Wisconsin.
Because they're in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Right, Green Bay, Wisconsin, no offense, cheese, and we're gonna kick your ass. I can't remember how he relates it to cheese, but he's like, all these different kinds of cheese, and then it's like, mozzarella, how you doing?
Yeah.
Gouda, how you doing?
Yeah.
Blue cheese, how you doing? And then it's like, sharp cheddar, medium cheddar, aged cheddar. It's like, you are stalling.
Yeah.
Is what you're. It sounded like he was trying to come up with different kinds of cheese. Provolone. Oh, okay. All right, cool. Right. Marble cheddar. Come on, man.
My little brother called it army cheese.
Army cheese because it looked like camouflage.
Yeah.
Huh. Never thought of that.
Yeah. So every time I see
you
like
said army cheese, and I immediately understood why. But I would never have come to that conclusion myself.
No, whenever I see it, it's like that's army cheese, man.
Okay. Right, they have a match against the Dudleys, and they win.
Again?
Yeah.
Man. All right. Good on them.
Sucks for the Dudleys, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so.
Zayn.
It's funny how in such a stacked tag team or an active tag team division, the Dudleys are the ones that are just ignored.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Backstage, Zayn, Dean, and Cesaro are discussing things because they're in one half of a 6-man tag match.
Yeah.
With I assume that Del Rio won his spot in Money in the Bank on SmackDown because it is now known that the 6th man in the Money in the Bank ladder match, pardon me, is Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah.
And they're backstage, and Dean is just ripping on Canadians for no reason. He's just like, oh, Kevin Owens, that guy. Well, he starts with Jericho.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? And he's Canadian. You know, and Owens also Canadian, right? And then Sami Zayn's like, I'm also Canadian? And Dean just goes, that explains so much. And so this is the thing. These 3 guys have this segment, and Jericho, Owens, and Del Rio have another segment later in the show. And both of these bits are just great.
Yeah, they're awesome.
They feel very lightly scripted, if at all. They just feel really loose, and they feel... You really get the different charismas of the different people coming across. They're both so good. All the promo work with all 6 of these guys, again, it feels very loose and very natural and so good.
Especially next week.
Yeah.
Because there is an amazing bit to open the show next week. Yeah. But yeah, I totally agree. Everything building up to this Money in the Bank was perfectly done. Mm-hmm. And it gave everybody a chance to shine, and they all have amazing chemistry, and they riff off each other so well. Yeah, it's just unbelievable.
And now, for the first time on Sidewalk Slam,
oh yeah,
it's John Cena.
He's here.
He is returned. Brand new T-shirt.
The mythical John Cena in its natural habitat.
Exactly, the ring talking about America.
Yeah,
it's Memorial Day, and he gives a very heartfelt, because he is
impassioned.
He is Captain America. You understand? He gives an impassioned speech about America, and it's all very pandering.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's a John Cena promo.
That's John Cena.
That's what he does.
Yeah, and then it finally gets back to wrestling.
Yeah,
and he starts talking about the new era. He says, "Do I even still belong here in the new era?" He's like, "I was out injured, and I started to doubt myself. Do I still belong in the WWE?" And then he decided. Not only does he belong, but, to quote, the faces of the future have to go through me.
Yeah.
Instantly, AJ's music hits.
Awesome.
It's like, ooh. 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 I swear I heard some Y2J chanting in with the AJ Styles, but it's mostly, let's go Cena, AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Let's go Cena.
For
literally over 2 solid minutes.
Yeah, and all the Let's Go Cena chants are
up
children.
The octave.
Yeah, are children.
Yeah,
and all the AJ Styles are 18 to 35.
Definitely.
It's really funny. And anytime someone like a fan favorite for like the older crowd comes up against John Cena, it's the same thing, and it always cracks me up. It's just like. I think it's awesome. So, and I missed Cena too.
Yeah.
I mean, I missed Super Cena. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't miss him, but I actually missed watching that.
Right.
I didn't watch any of that. Mm-hmm. So my John Cena exposure was mostly last year, which a lot of people said was his best year ever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, this guy's pretty great.
Yeah, it was. I knew who he was. I wasn't like, oh, who's this blue chipper? You know? People forget that early on, the crowd was absolutely behind him.
Yeah.
Like, he was a huge, legitimate face, and the crowd was loved John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
They only started, people like ourselves only started to turn on John Cena when Super Cena happened, when it was just, if John Cena's in the match, he's going to win the match, he's going to win the belt, he's going to make other people look bad, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And he's on an upswing out of that now, especially last year with the U.S. title reign and the Open Challenge, and that was all very, very good. So AJ comes out, this "Let's Go Cena" AJ Styles massive chant, because again, AJ was one of the top faces, both like, well, not face heel. He was one of the top characters of TNA, and he was huge in New Japan.
Yeah,
and you know, like, what's a match that you'll never ever see? I don't know, John Cena versus AJ Styles, because Cena's never going to leave the WWE, and AJ's never going to be in the WWE, and here it is. Here's John Cena and AJ Styles. AJ offers him a handshake. Cena, because Cena is kind of an asshole, immediately doesn't trust him.
Yeah.
And doesn't shake his hand, but then eventually is like, okay, sure, and then goes and shakes his hand.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, sure, you know, mutual respect. Because for all he talks about hustle, loyalty, and respect, he's kind of disrespectful. Like,
super disrespectful.
Yeah. Like AJ Styles offers him
But
a
I mean,
handshake,
hustle, loyalty, and disrespect doesn't have the same ring to it.
No, it doesn't. And then Gallows and Anderson's music hits.
Yeah.
And Gallows and Anderson comes out.
Yeah.
And you know that...
And I thought this was going to go the way that it appeared to be going.
Because AJ is like, oh crap, and like takes his shirt off and like gets ready to fight. And Cena's like, all right, I guess we're doing this. And he takes his shirt off and gets ready to fight. And it's Cena and AJ in the ring, you know, getting ready to defend themselves, to work together to defend themselves against
AJ's former friends.
AJ's former friends. Yeah. And then AJ just clocks Cena.
Yeah, Cena goes to do the, like, he bounces off the ropes whenever he's getting ready to fight.
Yeah.
And then Cena goes to bounce off the ropes, and AJ just unloads on him.
And then all three of them just beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And you're like, oh, that's not what I expected to happen.
That's not what I expected at all.
It was
good. A lot of people were up in arms over this, like, AJ Styles heel turn. But you know what? I feel like AJ has gotten better, especially on the mic. He's talking with conviction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also like, it's only, I guess this is officially a heel turn, but like a lot of people are still really like
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. But I mean, like, this is what is being written through the WWE's eyes as a heel turn, regardless of how maybe the split reaction happens or anything.
Yeah.
But John Cena is your classic babyface. You know what I mean? Yeah. Always fights on even terms, never cheats.
Yeah.
Shakes the hand of the man afterwards, all that other stuff.
Always gets back up.
But even the two Raws after this, AJ Styles on the mic was unbelievable. Thought he was great.
Really good.
Like, just this whatever this heel turn was, gave him an extreme sense of, like, conviction what he was talking about. Because, I mean, like I said earlier, any good heel believes a portion of what they say. There's a nugget of truth, you know, hidden deep in there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so AJ Styles, and then even throughout this whole segment, I think he did it once or twice, but AJ, they were all leaving. And then AJ's like, no! And he runs all the way back into the ring, beats him up some more.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty great.
Next up, Warcraft presents Natalya versus Dana Brooke. I'm super not invested in this particular aspect of the storyline.
No.
Dana Brooke wins with, as you say, the Michinoku driver.
Yeah.
And there's a post-match beatdown of Natalya.
Yeah.
Becky Lynch runs in, and nothing happens.
Yep.
But Becky Lynch runs in.
Yeah.
We're setting up for a tag match here.
How do we go from probably one of the best women's storylines leading up into WrestleMania to just nothing?
And not just that. This is the only women's storyline.
Yeah.
There's no other storyline.
Yeah. I know Sasha got injured.
Yeah, but there's other women in the division.
Yeah.
You can have more than one storyline. You've got 3 hours of Raw and 2 hours of SmackDown.
Yeah.
Wow.
You'd think so.
You would think.
Yeah.
JoJo is interviewing Dolph Ziggler backstage, reviewing the Extreme Rules match again, and he challenges Corbin to, as you said, a technical wrestling match. He references, man, these weeks are just great for like old school wrestling jokes.
Yeah.
Because Ziggler talks about the various technical wrestling.
Oh God,
holds
yes,
that he knows.
yeah.
And he's like, armbar.
Yeah.
Like whatever, like full Nelson or something,
Yeah.
Boston Crab, armbar, this hold, this other hold, armbar. And I'm like, what is going on?
Because this
Yeah.
is a throwback to an old Chris Jericho promo
On WCW.
WCW, which I've stated before, but is part of one of my favorite storylines of all time. And it was Chris Jericho and Dean Malenko over the Cruiserweight title. And Dean Malenko was known as the man of 1,000 holds. And this is, and even if you hear Jericho, I've watched some of the Monday Night Wars shows they have on the network, and they did an episode mostly on Chris Jericho, or the cruiserweight division. And Chris Jericho, they would tell him, like, he'd be like, oh, can I get some mic time? I'm like, yeah, go. Do whatever you want. They wouldn't even tell him, like, ask what he was doing.
Yeah.
And so Jericho goes out there one night, and he's got, like, a bunch of,
He
like,
has
dot
a
matrix.
scroll. He has
Yeah,
like a
it's like
sheet.
It's like dot matrix paper,
Yeah.
you know? And he's like he says he's the man of 1,004 holds.
Right.
And he's going to name off all of the holds that he knows. And he names armbar like 6 different times.
Every like third one is
arm bar.
Arm bar.
And
9-handed family gridunzel.
yeah.
Arm bar.
The Saskatchewan Cradle, I think, was one of them.
Saskatchewan Cradle. Full Nelson.
Arm bar. But the best part about the bit was he was reading it and they cut to commercial and they came back and he was still reading.
The paper is unfurled onto the ring. He's still going.
Oh, it's so good.
So having Ziggler just mention armbar like 3 times in succession was really great.
Yeah.
So they go to this technical wrestling match.
Yeah.
Ziggler comes out. He's like, wait, hang on. He puts on like his amateur wrestling headpiece.
Yeah.
Right? Puts in a mouth guard. And it's like, all right, cool. And he gets like all low, like he's ready for a takedown.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, oh man, this is going to be weird. The bell rings and he just wangs Corbin in the nuts, grabs the mic and says, Dolph Ziggler has been disqualified, but the loser of this match is Baron Corbin.
I thought that was awesome.
The mic down
Yeah.
and leaves.
See, this kind of injected
was sweet.
something much needed into this storyline.
Thank God.
Yeah, I know, right?
I just love all this setup, and he's like getting ready for a takedown, and just whang.
Because you know what? I thought for sure they were going to do it.
Yeah.
Knowing the WWE, I was like, well, we're going to
This will be interesting.
Yeah.
And then just having him grab the mic and having Ziggler say, Dolph Ziggler has been disqualified, but the loser is Baron Corbin. It was so good.
Yeah. It was definitely good. Yeah. This feud needed that segment.
Yeah.
Very badly.
Maurice introduces The Miz, calling in from Facebook, where he's promoting the Marine 5. He's like, I'm on set shooting the Marine 5, but I've still got my title with me here.
Yeah.
He's kissing the title. He's like, I'll be back later. And you're like, oh, so we're not having any feud with the IC title for like a month, but that's fine. Now we get Owens, Jericho, and Del Rio arguing in the locker room.
It's funny about the IC title. Because, I mean, they could have just kept it on Zack Ryder and they could have had a storyline going with it. But hey, who are we to...
So Owens, Jericho, and Del Rio are bickering backstage.
Yeah.
Jericho's sort of like ripping on Owens a little bit, and Owens is like, "What? I thought we had a good thing going." And Jericho's like, "Honestly, I'm souring on you a bit."
I love how... And then leading up to this, too, it was always like... Owens was just calling people out on their characters.
Yeah.
Like, oh, are you going to come in here and speak some Spanish?
Yeah.
Like, is that what you're going to do? Oh, great. Yeah.
And
I can speak a different language. Like, he starts speaking French.
Bit where Del Rio says something, and Jericho's like ripping on him for saying Spanish, and then he says, you know who invented this, the ladder match? Moi. Right? He's like, moi. That's, and like to Owens, he just goes, that's French. And Owens really quietly is like, I know. Like, it's really subtle. He's just like, all right. Because of course he speaks French.
Yeah.
Owens is just so gold in all of these things. And it's clear, it's clear that they're just being allowed to talk.
Yeah.
It's great.
They're just like, oh, I don't know, do something. Like, can we... Maybe they gave him an idea. We're like, oh, we're going to do this, this, and this. And they're like, sure, go ahead.
For it. And now we get the 6-man tag match with the Money in the Bank contestants. So it's Sami Zayn and Dean Ambrose and Cesaro versus Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho and Alberto Del Rio. Yeah. And it's just a sweet match with a lot of little moments. I do continue to dislike that the commentary is like, refers to Ambrose, like Ambrose the lunatic fringe, Dean Ambrose, right? Because he's so crazy, right? It's like, oh, Dean doesn't even know what he's going to do. Like, yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
He knows exactly what he's going to do. He's just weird about it. Yeah. But it's not like he has no concept of reality.
That's JBL, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's just like, you know what we're doing in there, Maggle.
And he ends up winning.
Yeah.
He gets the pin with the 1, 2, 3. And that's just a really sweet match.
Yep. It was a lot of fun. So, we've got John Cena back.
Oh, man. Yes. John Cena's back. We've got AJ Styles stuff going on there.
Yep.
We've got these 6 in the Money in the Bank match. We've got Rollins and Reigns.
This was the Raw with we covered the Rollins and Reigns promos?
we talked about it.
We talked
Yeah,
about
but
it?
the,
Okay, good.
Ambrose Asylum, I think, is the next episode.
It's the next episode.
Yeah.
And then, but I'm just saying, like, it's weird that we had a whole Raw. Well, I guess they did the ring thing.
The walking out to the ring, saying nothing,
But that's
leaving.
essentially nothing. Like
That was all they had. That was the
Yeah.
only time they were on camera this week.
It's weird.
Raw for June 7th.
Yeah.
Ambrose enters.
We open.
Open.
It just like cuts right to Ambrose entering down the hall, like the walkway.
Yeah.
And I was like,
the other Money in the Bank entrants are already in the ring on ladders.
yeah.
So it's this 6-way promo
Yeah.
on ladders in the ring.
Yeah.
And the banter is so fantastic.
It's awesome.
Like, at one point, Dean Ambrose is listing, like, I can't remember how it gets to him talking about the mole
Yeah,
people.
because he's like, I'll fight anyone. I'll fight zombies or like mole people.
Yeah, I'll fight you, I'll fight zombies, I'll fight the mole people. And you're like, where did you get the mole people from?
Yeah, I think in a later segment, either this Raw or the next Raw, Owens calls him out on it. It's like, mole people?
Yeah.
Like, what were you thinking?
Jericho's like, again, reiterates that he invented the Money in the Bank ladder match, and I think it's Cesaro or Zayn or someone is like, and how many of the ladder matches have you won? Yeah. And he's like, I won one of them.
Oh God, where's his answer? Yeah, which one?
Wait, and they're like, I don't think you have. No, I did. Which one? The first one? No, you didn't. Well, I won a different one. Really? Where? Where was it? It was
Apple.
You won the ladder match in Apple. And then
the Big
Cesaro's
Apple?
like the Big Apple, like New York. Are you sure you didn't win the one in stupid Idiotville where you're from? To which he responds, I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot. Yeah, we've talked about that before, right?
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite Jericho moments ever,
Yeah.
is he's beating up someone, I can't remember who, it's like Randy Orton or somebody.
Yeah.
He's beating up someone outside the ring, and someone in the crowd yells at him, go back to Toronto! And he just goes, I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot! And flings the guy back in the ring. And so this is just, he's referencing his own meme.
Oh my God.
It's just...
I forgot about the Apple thing.
It's
Apple.
This whole thing is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it just breaks down to a whole screaming match. And then they're interrupted by, I'm flabbergasted at this. They're interrupted by Teddy Long's music.
Yeah. The only thing I know about Teddy Long is we're going to make it a tag team match player.
Exactly. Jericho references one internet wrestling meme, and then Teddy Long comes out and references his own.
Yeah.
Teddy Long, Theodore Long, was he was in the WWE for years. He started as a referee.
See, I know Teddy Long from WCW, and he
Really?
used to manage. I think Teddy Long managed Harlem Heat.
I actually had no idea about that.
Yeah, he managed Harlem Heat, and when my early memories of wrestling was like Harlem Heat was one of my favorite teams.
Yeah, it was Booker T.
And Stevie Ray.
Stevie Ray.
Yeah, they were managed by Teddy Long, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I might be wrong, but they moved on to like Sister Sherry later. But yeah,
but he was general manager of SmackDown for like 6 years, maybe longer.
I missed all this. So.
And basically, his like defining characteristics, if you had to boil him down, was he wears huge jackets.
Yeah.
Like massive suit jackets that go down to his knees. He says "playa" a lot, and it just would happen on SmackDown all the time, because again, SmackDown in this era was very much the B show.
Yeah.
Right? And you'd get, like 4 people vying for the title or whatever, and they'd be arguing in the ring, and he would come out and be like, "This is now a tag team match, player." That's how he would solve problems. He would come out and make a tag team match. So he comes out, and everyone's like, What? Because he has not worked in the WWE for like 5 years. And he comes out and he's like, this needs to be a triple threat, fatal 4-way, 6-pack Iron Man challenge. And everyone in the ring is just like, what this crazy man at the top of the ramp yelling at us?
Yeah.
Steph comes out and is super confused because he's making no sense. And Steph isn't even sure how he got in the building.
Yeah.
And is like, Teddy, you need to, no, what are you doing? And he's like, I heard you did brand split. I want to manage SmackDown again. She's like, absolutely not. Please go backstage. Production, do not play his music when he leaves. I don't know how he got it to happen when he came in.
See what I mean? Like, just trying to run a show. And she's like, I don't know how you got here. Why are they playing your music? Like,
please go away. It's not going to be that. You guys are all going to have singles matches tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So they make... Is it Zayn versus Del Rio?
Well, the first one is Jericho versus Cesaro.
Okay, yeah.
That's the first one, which Cesaro wins by doing a spin into a sharpshooter.
Oh, yeah.
He does like the spins
swing?
and then, the Cesaro swing into the sharpshooter and ends up winning. And, that's the first of the singles matches out of tonight. And then, it's Zayn and Del Rio and then Owens and Ambrose.
Yeah.
Later on the show. There's a super long Shield vignette, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Lana introduces Rusev for Rusev. This show is from Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, it's Rusev versus, from Perry, Oklahoma, Jack Swagger.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And, of course...
A rare Jack Swagger sighting.
Jack Swagger, because, of course, Rusev was all like, boo to America, and Jack Swagger is all we the people, and he's from Oklahoma, so huge pop for Swagger, with Titus O'Neil on commentary.
Yeah. Who was
fine.
Very not great
on
commentary.
Also, someone talks about Rusev and Swagger and refers to, I can't remember who they're referring to first, but they're like, takes on his longtime rival. And I was like, really? Are they?
Was the one, Rusev was the one that took the U.S. title off Swagger originally?
Was he really?
Yeah.
I
Like
don't remember
before
that very
WrestleMania 31, leading up to that, Rusev was kicking the tar to everybody. And I remember him and Swagger had a feud.
Okay.
And Rusev just beat the piss out of him.
Was this when Zeb Coulter was still around and the We the People thing was still really
okay. I mean, that We the People thing is always like super popular.
Eventually, Rusev, I kind of like this. He wins the match by, they go to outside the ring, and Rusev wins the match by picking Swagger up, throwing him into Titus, and then getting back in the ring and winning via countout.
Yeah.
Because Swagger can't get up.
Yeah.
And then Swagger does get up, and Swagger and Titus both beat up Rusev.
Yeah. Okay.
Cena comes out.
Yay!
And Cena begins his own "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks" chant.
Oh yeah.
I've
noticed that more since Cena's come back too. Like all the crowds are singing along with the John Cena sucks. John Cena sucks.
That only started happening like a year ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did it take us so long to get to this point?
Yeah, I know, right?
Like we figured this out for Kurt Angle like immediately. How did it take us so long to work out how to sing John Cena sucks along to his theme song?
But I've noticed that, like, especially since he's come back, like every crowd's done it. I know that over like the last year, some crowds have done it, especially like when they went over to London, or if they're in the UK, they'll do it.
So he comes out and he's like, people are always divided on me. They're always chanting, "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks. Let's go Cena, Cena sucks." And then he lets the crowd continue the chants. And he says that AJ is the only one that had electricity with Cena.
Yeah, like The Rock. He reminds him. He's only felt that electricity with one other man in the ring.
Yeah.
And that man was The Rock.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. When the crowd was chanting like that.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Why, AJ? Why did you do what you did?" So the club comes out.
Yeah.
And Cena, by the way, I don't think Cena's allowed to say this, but he says, "You did not need to involve your junkies from the Bullet Club."
Yeah.
I don't think he's allowed to say.
He said a lot of stuff. He name drops PWG, Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
And they've talked about New Japan, but the PWG and Ring of Honor thing.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, when you're John Cena, I guess you can say whatever you want.
But that's why they've been saying the club is because they can't say Bullet Club. So it's like, whoopsies. AJ says, "I had a plan," and he digs on Cena's movies. He's like, unlike your plans when you're doing this. Cena shits on AJ's booking, which sucks because that's not AJ's choice. He's like, you lost this match and you lost this match and you lost this match, so you suck. And it's like, no, that doesn't mean he sucks. That means that they asked him to lose those matches.
Yeah.
So I kind of don't like that.
Yeah.
From a meta perspective, but whatever.
But I mean, from a kayfabe perspective, it makes sense, right?
Yeah. And he says, you tried to pick a fight with. This is interesting. Cena still considers himself on a higher tier than Roman Reigns. Like he kind of like craps on Reigns a little bit here. Because he says you already tried to pick a fight with Roman Reigns and you lost, and now you want Cena?
Yeah. It's like, ooh, shit.
Which is like, it's like saying like you tried number 2 and you failed, so now you're going higher than you're going up to number 1, which is like, oh, you're making no bones that you think you're better than Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
He says now I have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Oh yeah.
From AJ.
This was my favorite part of the whole.
AJ says that the reason that AJ knows he won't lose, his incentive for beating Cena is everyone knows that once you lose to John Cena, it's time to get out the shovels.
Yeah.
Because guys like you bury guys like me.
Damn, son!
That's
pop.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like it's been a big when we're talking about Super Cena and why people don't like his character, because they build up these characters and then they feed them to John Cena and then they're nothing after that. Like look at how long it's taken Rusev to recover. Rusev entered WrestleMania on a tank.
Yeah.
Lost to John Cena and then was nothing.
Then lost his girlfriend to Dolph Ziggler.
Terrible storyline with Ziggler and Lana and Summer Rae.
Yeah.
Right? Like, look, and again, like the Nexus or all these people that get like built up into these massive threats and then Cena easily beats them and then they're nothing. They're back on the low end of the card, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing that happened to Hogan in the 80s. Build up these crazy things, feed them to Hogan, and then they're nothing. And it's like, AJ's like, once you lose to Cena, it's time to get other shovels because you get buried, and it's like, holy shit!
Yeah, this is awesome.
Oh, are you allowed to say that?
Yeah, I know. And even like when he said it, I was like, I believe that.
Yeah.
Like AJ has this conviction about him throughout this whole feud with Cena that I'm just like, wow, I'm buying into this. Yeah, I bought into the story.
AJ and the club walk down to the ring and threaten to beat Cena up.
Yeah.
And the New Day runs in to protect Cena.
Well, because the New Day was attacked by the Bullet Club, or not the Bullet Club, by the club. So there was that common ground.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird to see New Day helping out John Cena.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why it's weird, but it's just weird.
It feels weird and I don't know why. There's no reason. I guess because the New Day have always... Their transition from heel to face was so slow, and they still kind of do heelish things that you don't get this impression of them as being like the goody two-shoes guys that will run out to rescue someone.
Yeah, it's more of like an Uso thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But New Day are more over, so sure.
Dude, the Usos have been like they're ghosts. Where have they been since Extreme? They weren't on.
They were on that match a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, but I mean,
Golden Truth were commentating. They beat Breezango, I guess.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it.
The Vaudevillains versus Enzo and Cass is next. Enzo has pants with the 100 emoji.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
Aiden English, this is so good. Aiden English does the same move to Enzo that resulted in Enzo's concussion.
Yeah.
So he whips him under the ropes and then yells, "And stay down this time." It's like, ooh, shit. Really good. Yeah. Which, by the way, all that does is just make Cass very angry. Very, very, very angry.
Yeah.
As in, the Vaudevillains win this match by DQ because because Big Cass goes, like, hulks out and, like, the red mist descends and he just loses it on the Vaudevillains.
Yeah,
which I think is actually really interesting. Yeah. I like that. That just adds a little bit more to sort of like the character of,
the brotherhood of Enzo and Cass.
Yeah, but also that Cass can snap and be uncontrolled. I wrote down something about an interview here, and I can't remember who's talking, and I'm going to assume it's Sami Zayn. Because it's, do you consider yourself the underdog?
Yeah.
And the response was, yes. Like, yeah. Why wouldn't I? Like, he's like, isn't it obvious that I'm the underdog?
Yeah.
Teddy's backstage listening to his own entrance music. Steph is like, am I on an episode of Swerved? Am I being swerved right now? What is going on here?
He's just like,
how did you get in here? And he pulls out money and he's like, because the dollar makes you go holla holla. Yeah.
Doesn't he call her baby girl? And she's like, no.
Yeah. And the red baby girl, she's do not. And he says, look, I'm just saying, I want to run SmackDown. I think it'd be great. And, what you need, because you have all these great tag teams and you got these titles, what you need to do at Money in the Bank is have a fatal 4-way tag team match for the titles. And she's like, you're insane, please leave.
Yeah.
And finally gets him out of the room.
Yeah.
And then sort of goes, and calls up marketing and is like, hey, what's up? We're going to have a fatal four-way at Money in the Bank. Yeah, I know. It's a great idea, isn't it? Thanks. Just steals Teddy's idea. And so it's going to be New Day defending against Enzo and Cass and the Vaudevillains and Gallows and Anderson.
Yes.
Yeah. Now we get the Zayn versus Del Rio match.
Yeah. Del Rio wins?
Del Rio wins.
Yeah. These double stomp.
These matches don't have any bearing on anything.
They don't, I think that us covering the matches is not important. You know what I mean? To go blow by blow, you know what I mean?
We talk about, especially during the pay-per-views, we'll talk about particularly impressive moves, but
we're here for the story, man.
Owens and Ambrose are talking backstage, and it's great.
Yeah.
There's another video package, which this time focuses on Roman Reigns. Ambrose and Owens now have their match, their singles match tonight, which Ambrose wins with the Dirty Deeds.
Yes.
And Dean sets up a ladder and starts climbing it up because
the briefcase is always there.
The briefcase is there during these matches. But then Owens runs back out and chucks him off the ladder.
Yeah.
They just sort of fight a little bit. There's another life lessons with Bob Backlund. No, this is the one where you walk briskly for 8 hours. Brisk walking for 8 hours.
I was like, this is so weird. I'm almost, because they haven't gone anywhere with it, I'm almost intrigued to see where they go with it.
Yeah.
When Darren starts wrestling, is Bob going to be there?
I have no idea.
Is Darren going to start wrestling?
Will he wrestle at some point? Yeah. Charlotte and Dana Brooke come out. Charlotte opens with an apology to Ric Flair, but kind of not, but kind of still.
Yeah.
She clarifies that maybe she went a little too far, emotions running hot, and that Ric Flair is merely dead to her professionally. She's like, I still want to get together for Christmas and Thanksgiving and everything, but you're dead to me professionally, which is apparently a distinction you're allowed to make.
Yeah.
Natty and Becky come out, rip on Charlotte.
Yeah.
And Becky is trying to convince Dana Brooke that siding with Charlotte is a bad idea.
Oh, yeah.
Because Charlotte has turned on every single other person.
Yeah.
I don't like you much or at all, but if you had the sense that God gave to a goose, you would realize that you were going to wake up in a dumpster with a knife in your back.
Yeah, that was Becky to Dana.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dana, and the whole time Dana was, actually, this segment was great.
Yeah.
And it made sense. It was like, hey, man, and Dana was like the whole time like.
She's like, huh, interesting. And she looks like she's really thinking hard about this.
Yeah.
And then she sort of because Charlotte's on one side of the ring and Becky and Natty are on the other side of the ring, and Dana sort of starts walking away from Charlotte over to Natty and Becky.
Yeah.
And then just sucker punches Natty.
Yeah.
And then they all fight, and Charlotte and Dana are, they stand proud at the end of it.
Yeah. It was a good segment. It's a nice little bit of almost character development.
In sharp contrast to another green screen promo for the Shining Stars, which has no character development at all.
They don't say anything.
No.
Is this the one where they were smelling flowers? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think so. Breezango.
Yeah.
Breeze now being billed from his seasonal residence in Madagascar.
Oh.
Yeah. He moves around a lot.
Character development!
He's been billed from so many different places. I love it. They're being supremely homoerotic to one another, and it's actually phenomenal.
You know what? This is the kind of thing that either should fall flat on its face. Shouldn't be funny. But these two, I think they're legitimately two funny dudes. And not only am I glad that Tyler Breeze is getting, a bit more exposure, because there was but I'm actually legitimately surprised by Fandango.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely becoming a fan.
They're rolling with it, and it's great. So it's the match is Tyler Breeze versus R-Truth, which quickly descends into chaos because, of course, Goldust and Fandango are at ringside. Teddy Long comes back out, and his solution is to restart the match, but now it's a tag team match, player. Security comes out with Steph, and Teddy's like, well, I thought I'd give it a shot. Bye. There is not a tag match.
Again,
the tag match,
just trying to run a show.
The tag match does not happen because Teddy has no authority to do so.
Which is funny.
Escorted out of the
I think this is especially funny because stuff like this happens in wrestling all the time, and people just go with it. You know what I mean? And now, this time, they're like, how did you get in here?
You don't have that authority. The main event is a 3v3 tag match, the New Day versus the Club. The Club now including AJ Styles, to be clear.
Club wins.
Your little club does not matter, they say.
Yeah.
It starts with a giant fight before the bell even rings.
Yeah.
And Big E gets thrown into the steps again. Mm-hmm. AJ does a Styles clash to Xavier Woods outside the ring.
Yeah.
Did these two ever? I don't know why you would know this.
Wrestle in TNA?
Yeah, I was curious if they ever fought in TNA.
I don't know.
Probably not.
Someone might know.
Consequences Creed was more in the tag division or the X division, and I feel like AJ would have been more in the title picture, but I don't know.
AJ was an X division champion.
Yeah, but I think around this time, maybe not. Anyway, point being,
if you know,
let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
There's a commercial, and then when we come back from commercial, Big E and Kofi are coming in from the back because after the Styles clash to Woods outside the ring, they took him backstage and really selling that he was messed up.
Yeah.
So it's now a 3-on-2 match with Big E and Kofi versus the Club.
Yeah.
Kofi does the boom drop.
Yeah.
Except instead of yelling boom, 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 he yells New Day or New Day Rocks or whatever and does the boom drop. It's a standing leg drop. And then the Club with the upper hand, Cena runs out, and there's a big melee, and it ends with AJ and Cena facing off, and then they leave, and the faces Cena and New Day stand tall.
Yeah.
And the last one for this evening is Monday Night Raw for June 13th.
The Go Home Raw.
The Go Home Raw before Money in the Bank. There is a hard gear change from the opening titles of Monday Night Raw into a moment of silence for the victims of the shooting in Orlando.
Yep.
Which is challenging to pull off on an episode of Raw, because it's like the big bombastic Monday Night Raw opening titles and then just
bang,
boom, moment of silence. It's like, I mean, it was the next day. They couldn't not do it, but it's just oh, you can smell the gears.
Yeah.
Despite the Ambrose Asylum previously being canceled, it's the Ambrose Asylum tonight.
Yeah. You know what? I never thought about that.
Yeah, right?
Shit.
Shane brought it back for this week.
Yeah. Did they say that?
I think so.
Can't remember. Okay. Well, as long as they explain it. You know what? I'm okay with almost anything, but they just need to address it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
We know how upset me and Graham get when they don't address shit.
Yeah.
Because we get pretty upset.
Yeah. So it's Reigns and Rollins are going to be guests on the Ambrose Asylum.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the first time those three have been in the ring together?
In a long time. Yeah. And also tonight is a contract signing, which always goes well.
Sorry, we should probably rewind. In case you're not aware, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, I think we've mentioned before many times, but just quickly.
To be clear.
Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns were all members of the Shield.
The Hounds of Justice.
Yeah, and they were a group of guys who carried out what they felt was evening the odds for whatever reason. They had their own personal kind of crusade thing.
Sometimes they beat up faces, sometimes they beat up heels. It was a little more faces than heels, but sometimes they sort of switch back and forth. It was basically whatever they determined was just in the WWE.
And eventually they won a few titles together. I think Rollins and Reigns were on the tag titles, and Ambrose was the U.S. champion for a while. But eventually Seth Rollins turns on the Shield, and he becomes what we know him as. This is the corporate kind of yes man.
Yes, the architect of the Shield.
But anyway, sorry, we just wanted to reiterate.
So this is the Shield sort of reuniting kind of on the Ambrose Asylum.
Yeah. There's always been fans clamoring for a Shield triple threat is what they've always kind of wanted.
Yeah.
You know? It's funny though, like internet discourse as it want to be, they were like, give us a Shield triple threat, and then they were like, at Battleground it's a Shield triple threat. It was like, too soon, do it at SummerSlam. It's like, come on, man. Like, really?
Give us what we want. Okay. No, you did it wrong.
Boo.
Boo this man. Oh, and then also tonight, yes, as I said, the contract signing between Cena and AJ for a match.
Yeah.
15 years in the making, they say.
And we all know how contract signings end.
Exactly. First, though, the New Day comes out.
Yeah.
And before they can say anything, Xavier and Big E start ripping on Kofi for his shoes.
Yeah, this was so funny.
Because these are the
Steph Curry shoes.
The 2-time MVP Steph Curry shoes they're from a sponsor, from like Tap Out or Under Armour or something.
I think so.
And you can get them in colorways that don't look like old person shoes.
They definitely look like old person shoes.
These ones are white on white sneakers, so they look like old.
They look like dad shoes.
Yeah. And they're just ripping on Kofi, and he's like, "You know how much these things cost?" And they're like, "You paid too much." Enzo and Cass come out, and continue to roast Kofi's shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're Under Armour. And yeah, Under Armour was a sponsor at one point. Or at least, yeah, they had all those promos with like Reigns and Lana and Kofi like working out, doing cross training and stuff.
Reigns with Superman punching things.
Yeah.
As he does in the gym. Flies around super punching.
This verbal battle continues. The where was your girl last night?
Oh, Francesca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where was your girl last night? And Xavier's like, she's a grown woman. She can do anything she wants. She can go wherever she likes. Yeah. And Enzo implies that Francesca to the trombone.
Yeah.
To be clear, they're talking about the trombone.
Yes.
Was with Enzo.
Yeah. He was blowing her.
Yeah. Very strange.
Trombone. Yeah.
Kofi hypes up a verbal battle between the teams. He's like, oh, we're finally going to get to see the much lauded verbal battle between the New Day and Enzo and Cass. And then an ice cream truck rolls through. I think the beginning of the Vaudevillains music sounds like an ice cream truck.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Anyway, the Vaudevillains interrupt.
Yeah. They get the full entrance, which I love.
Aiden English can really hold a note.
Yeah,
because he comes out, he starts singing.
He's like classically trained, right?
Yeah, really?
Like he has like a degree, I think, or something in theater. So yeah, it's definitely like in his past life, I guess. You know, before he became a supervillain, he was an actor.
So he's singing his disses and holds a note for a very long time.
He does, which gets great heat was when he does the WWE world. He makes fun of the New Day's kind of like little.
That's what he's
catchphrase.
singing.
Yeah.
Thank you, I forgot.
Yeah.
Then Gallows and Anderson come out, and they're getting heat is much more direct. They just rip on the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's the easiest way to get heat.
Yeah.
Local sports team is dumb.
So it's a 4v4 tag match.
Yeah.
With New Day and Enzo and Cass versus Anderson and the Vaudevillains.
Yeah. And
the heels win.
Yeah.
More Bob Backlund life lessons. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Steph and Shane are backstage. They're now it was a fun like 6 weeks or whatever, but it's now broken down. They are now bickering over who gets to run SmackDown or Raw, and Shane's like, no, it's okay. We'll still co-run Raw, and I'll also run SmackDown.
Yeah,
it'll be fine. So,
well, I think that isn't this where Shane's kind of like, well, I'll run Raw and you run SmackDown. And Steph's like, no. He's like, okay, fine. I'll run SmackDown. You run Raw. And she's like, no. It's like, all right, fine. I don't know what to tell you. God damn.
Then we cut to Zack Ryder laughing with 3 random people, maybe they're like NXT.
Yeah,
people.
just like
just
interns,
laughing.
I guess.
He's like telling a joke and they're all laughing.
He's talking about, I guess, Apollo attacked Sheamus.
Right.
Maybe it was they were talking about it was on SmackDown.
Okay, that makes way more sense because I didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And then Sheamus comes in and starts threatening Zack Ryder, and I'm like, Zack Ryder is not new era. I don't know why Sheamus is.
No, he was saying like, oh, Apollo came and like attacked Sheamus, and should have seen the look on Sheamus's face. He looked like such an idiot, and then Sheamus is like,
okay,
you saying something, fella?
There's another goddamn Shining Stars promo. Yeah. Titus O'Neil comes out, and before he gets to the ring, gets immediately attacked from behind by Rusev.
Yeah.
And they keep pointedly not mentioning who Titus's opponent was supposed to be in this match. Mm-hmm. They just, because Titus is coming out for a match.
Yeah.
And then Rusev attacks him. And they keep saying, like, Rusev wasn't even supposed to be in this match. Titus was here to have a match. But they don't say against who.
Yeah.
Almost as if he was never intended to get to the ring. Right?
Graham Stark is on the case.
Just like, they could have made up anyone, right?
Yeah.
Like he's supposed to have a match against Jack Swagger. Why not? You know,
Bo Dallas.
Sure.
Yeah, there we go.
And just be like, oh, but Rusev interrupted. It's just sort of like, it's little things like that.
If you were a worker at WWE, wouldn't you be pissed if your match didn't happen? You're like,
yeah,
I gotta get paid, man. Like I got kids to feed. Like Rusev just stole food out of my mouth.
Remember like a month or two ago when it was like already in the ring, Damian Sandow, and now versus, and then someone comes, I think it was Baron Corbin.
Yeah.
Comes out and then Ziggler just attacks Baron Corbin, and then they beat all the way around the ring, and Sandow's just like, I don't get to fight.
Yeah.
Rusev beats the crap out of Titus, by the way, and gives him an accolade on the ramp.
Yeah.
As we know.
Which hurts.
Which hurts more.
50% more.
Yes.
Well, I mean, maybe the ramp's like 25% because the announce table it's 50%.
Definitely, yeah. This math all checks out.
Yeah, just trust us.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the Ambrose Asylum now.
Yeah.
Dean Ambrose is in the ring and invites his guests out. They're laboriously long entrances.
Yeah.
And then Reigns and Rollins just stare at each other while Dean tries to pretend like everything's fine. It's just like, hey guys, what's up?
Yeah.
How's it going? And like Rollins and Reigns are just staring daggers at one another, and Dean's like, isn't this fun?
Yeah, it's like we haven't been together in a long time. We had some good times together, right?
Yeah.
And I like how Seth starts turning around on it. He's
This
like,
is great.
Yeah.
Seth, like, because Dean's like, hey man, remember we had all these cool times? You know, wasn't it fun when we were the Shield? Seth is like, well, actually, this time was pretty cool. And like, he really loosens up, and they start reminiscing about cool stories when they were the
and
Shield.
even like Roman was like likable. Like
he calls Reigns Oos.
yeah, he's like, Oos, remember that time we found Dean passed out? Like by that dumpster in Columbus or something like that. And
Like, remember this?
Yeah.
Remember when I beat Batista for this thing? And there's like
a big Bautista chant.
Bautista chant.
Yeah.
And even Reigns is like, this was all pretty fun. And then, of course, Rollins is like, but this was my favorite. My favorite part is when the three of us were in the ring and I hit you in the back of the head with a chair and broke up the Shield.
Yeah. Or
that was my favorite part.
Actually, I really liked when I cashed in at WrestleMania 31 and stole your moment.
Yeah.
That was pretty great. Hey?
Those were other good times.
And the crowd just cheers because, I mean, they will pick Seth over Roman, as far as the cheer boo dynamic goes.
Dean is like, look, either you're going to defend it, Money in the Bank, or you're going to beat him at Money in the Bank. Or maybe I win the Money in the Bank contract and cash in on one of you at the end of the night.
Yeah.
That could also happen. And then they all fight.
Yeah.
And it ends with
Dean gives Roman a dirty deeds.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like the ending of the segment. Good segment. Really liked it.
Yeah.
That was great.
Steph makes the main event Dean Ambrose versus Jericho.
Yeah.
Dean rips in on Steph a bit more, just sort of like still not buying new Steph. Then we have Paige.
Yeah, she's back.
Back again.
Yeah.
Versus Charlotte with Natty and Becky on commentary.
Yeah.
Most of the storytelling here is just Natty and Becky on commentary. The match is merely a medium for the storytelling to come from the commentary table.
Yeah.
Charlotte does a flare flop.
Yeah.
Which I thought was good. And
doesn't Dana get involved somehow?
Yeah, Dana distracts, but it doesn't go as planned.
Yeah.
And Paige gets the win.
Yeah.
And
Paige
so
has
then-
pinned the women's champion.
Again.
Yeah.
And so then later backstage, Charlotte is yelling at Dana for failing whatever plan she was trying to do. Mm-hmm. Renee tries to ask Cesaro about Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
She's like, so, Sami Zayn, blah, 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 blah. What do you think about that? And Zayn just sort of like pops in. He's just sort of like, hey, I'm part of this question, so I'll just be here as well. Hello. The contract signing is next.
Yeah.
So Cena goes out there by himself.
Yeah.
He puts AJ over like mad.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Like the effusive praise of AJ Styles coming out of Cena's mouth is on another level. Mm-hmm. He's just like, this is a man who did this, he fought here, he fought these people, he won these titles, just like a litany of his whole career.
Yeah.
Talking about like how amazing AJ Styles is. And then finishing up with like, but of course I'm going to beat him at Money in the Bank. Yeah. AJ comes out and has to choose either. There's two contracts.
I actually really like this. It's so nice and like it's a little bit different from the usual contract signing. Mm-hmm. Maybe I haven't seen enough of them, but
this is cool because Cena basically presents AJ with an ultimatum. There's a contract there for a 3-on-1 match with the club versus Cena.
Yeah,
it's like we can have that match. We can have the match where the three of you beat the crap out of me. Or you can sign this match, which is the 1-on-1 match, which is the 15 years in the making. This is what people want to see. Who will win, AJ Styles or John Cena? Because Cena's like, people want to see this. You were off doing your own thing, and AJ's like, yeah, but what if AJ Styles had been here 15 years ago?
Yeah, this is great.
He's like, you wouldn't be your 15-time world champion. You wouldn't have won the Royal Rumble twice.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have done all that because I would have been here.
Yeah.
And John Cena's like, don't say that kind of thing because you weren't here. You didn't put in the work here. You're here now. Let's settle this.
He's like, guys like you are too busy making excuses.
Yeah, he does. He does crap on indie wrestlers a little bit, which I thought was unnecessary.
Yeah.
He's like, you indie people, you think that you can just come in here, whatever.
Yeah.
Also, again, some dialogue is great, some dialogue is not. Your club isn't full of bullets; it's full of bull. Anyway, he goads AJ into signing the one-on-one match.
Yeah.
So AJ Styles versus John Cena 1v1 at Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. Kevin Owens and Del Rio versus the Lucha Dragons.
Oh, yeah.
With a stipulation match.
Yeah, because there's a backstage segment.
Yeah.
Where Del Rio and Owens are kind of bickering back and forth, and it's Shane makes a match between Owens and Del Rio on a team against the Lucha Dragons, and if the Lucha Dragons win, they take Owens and Del Rio's spots in the Money in Bank match.
And who else is backstage this week? Corporate Kane.
Oh yeah, he's back. Yeah.
He's just sort of around being like, I could manage SmackDown.
Yeah, and I love how Stephanie just calls him a psychopath. Because, I mean, essentially he is, right?
Yeah.
Like, to management, if you had a guy that dressed in a suit and acted all normal, and then all of a sudden he showed up and he's wearing a mask, and it's like, this guy's a fucking loony.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's Owens and Del Rio defending their spots in the match against the Lucha Dragons, and they win and they keep their spops, but
there's some great play, like Owen at one point has to like get out and throw Del Rio back in the ring and then tagged himself in when he was outside. And it's just like two heels playing off each other really well. Mm-hmm. Actually, I always thought, I don't know, when I looked at Del Rio before, I was like, I don't know, he's okay. But this has definitely warmed me up to him a little bit.
Oh, big time.
This Money in the Bank.
Since his return, I've been
I didn't see any of his older stuff
on board with him than I was when he was around the first time.
Yeah, I didn't see like around the first time. So, and even when he first showed up, I was like, I don't know, he's okay, I guess. There's a whole Mex America thing, but this is like showing that he has a little bit of like a sense of humor.
Yeah,
you know.
Miz is still on set, checking in from Facebook, still ripping on production assistants, doing like the "Make Me Another Coffee" thing.
Yeah.
Steph and Owens are backstage. Owens is complaining.
Yeah.
Because he's like, did you see what happened out there? Del Rio disrespected me. Del Rio comes in, starts talking Spanish, and Owens is like, Why Spanish all the time? Why so much Spanish?
Sorry, I totally forgot the why Del Rio and Owens were arguing, because Del Rio was late to the arena.
Right.
Because Owens had called security on Del Rio at the airport. That's what it was.
I completely forgot about that.
Just totally clicked. I was like, why were they fighting again? Yeah. But yeah, that's why. That's how we got to that match.
Yeah. So they kick them out.
But I do love that Owens like, why always Spanish, man? Like,
yeah. Why? There's a great bit about that at the actual Money in the Bank thing.
Oh, it's amazing.
Which we'll get to.
Yeah.
Shane and Steph are now talking to Kane, and they're like, no, look, Kane, you are not getting control of SmackDown.
Yeah.
And Kane says, is this about the whole car battery to the testicles thing? And Shane's like, well, no, but that's not helping your cause. Because in a storyline some years ago when he was still very much the Demon Kane, there was a storyline bit where Kane hooked a car battery up to Shane's testicles and shocked his nuts. Attitude Era.
Wrestling.
I love that they can laugh at themselves now with stuff like that. Like, is this about the whole car battery to the nuts thing?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Maybe Shane had a case of labiogitis.
Right. Oh, God. What's happening here is that Jericho and Ambrose have this match.
Yeah.
And Zayn asked to be on commentary.
Yeah.
So the reason that Owens is complaining to Shane and Steph is because Owens also wants to be on commentary.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, sure, fine. So then Del Rio comes in and he's like, well, why can't I be on commentary? And they're like, look, commentary is already getting kind of crowded. There's going to be 5 people. So Del Rio, you can be special guest timekeeper.
Yeah.
Right? And Cesaro's like, what about the Swiss Superman? And they're like, okay, fine, you can be the guest ring announcer.
They're just trying to run a show.
So Cesaro, the following match is scheduled for. He's in the ring. He's announcing them to the
That's
thing.
actually a really good Cesaro voice.
Why, thank you. And so then Del Rio, in his wrestling trunks, is just standing with a tiny hammer, standing beside the ring bell, just looking really like ting, ting, ting. And Zayn and Owens are on commentary.
Yeah.
And eventually Ambrose wins this match, but the whole thing just turns into a mess.
Yeah.
Just the whole thing ends up in a massive scrap.
And it's Zayn and Owens fighting like two brothers on commentary.
Yeah.
Like Owens will say something, and then Zayn just responds by saying the same thing in a condescending voice, and he's like, "Really? That's what you come back with?
That's your comeback?
That's your comeback? Like, it's so good."
And I'm glad that this is the go home. That like, because it's the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and I'm glad that they're making the Money in the Bank match seem so important.
Yeah.
And they're really elevating that. It's like, this is, even though the title match will finish the night, that they're making the Money in the Bank match feel like the headlining event.
This was like 4 very enjoyable weeks of wrestling. You know, like I was okay. I mean, there's obvious duds, but I mean, like there's always going to be stuff that's kind of boring or kind of whatever. Or
it's hard to avoid with 3 hours of the show.
Yeah, and even like you mentioned, you had somebody tweet at you like, I watched my first episode of Raw last night, and it was really bad. Or are all episodes like this?
Was it just bad, or was this par for the course?
Yeah. And he's like, oh, there was a bunch of replays, and I was like, yeah, that's just, I mean, that's wrestling.
It's gonna happen, yeah.
3 hours.
Yeah.
Would you want to write 3 hours of television?
I'd like it if they wrote 3 hours of television.
Yeah, that's. But I mean,
Zing.
like,
no, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. It is. That's a lot.
Man, that one's
Gone.
That one's long gone.
So,
but yeah, I can't even imagine like writing. I can't imagine writing 5 minutes of television.
No.
Someone's like, here, write 5 minutes of television. I'm like, all right.
Could we just give Owens a microphone?
Yeah.
Let him talk. He can probably fill some time.
Just Owens talks.
So, okay, that is May through June Raw.
Yeah.
So that's 4 weeks of Raw. Next time, we're going to talk about the actual Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So, until next time.
Yes.
Adam.
Yes.
You're on Twitter.
I am on Twitter. It's at Wake Up Super. Right here.
Yeah.
I get to do that thing where they're like, if you want to follow me on Twitter, click right here. And Graham.
Yeah, what's up?
You are also on Twitter.
I am at Graham_LRR, which is over here. And all of this is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun.
Yes.
Please check that out, because it supports not only this show, but a bunch of other great stuff as well.
A crazy amount of stuff.
It's a lot of things.
There's also a Twitch channel.
Oh, yeah.
Twitch.tv/LoadingReadyRun. Not
true.
mine, but no, that one's that one's long gone.
You'll be in on Saturday.
Yes. And I'm gone for 2 weeks.
Right.
So this Saturday I go away for 2 weeks.
But when you get back.
When I get back,
more
I
Rogue
stream
Galaxy?
Yes.
Sweet.
I stream Rogue Galaxy on Saturdays.
Awesome.
Well, not forever, but
So thank you for joining us for Sidewalk Slam Shorts Edition.
yes.
Hopefully my pasty legs weren't too distracting, because it's really warm today.
Yeah. I'm
And
sweating right now.
We will talk to you all next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.